I'm Ken Zelin with McIntosh. I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot your system if you have a C8 Preamp, MA252 Integrated Amp, or MHA200 Headphone Amplifier and are running into an issue. The three most common issues are noise in one channel out, or one channel lower in volume than the other. First, we'll address the one channel lower in volume or one channel out problem. We need to determine if the problem is in the source, the unit itself, or the output connections. Play the system and know which channel is low or out. If you have an MA252 amp or C8 Preamp, check to see that the balance has not been shifted off-center. Tap in the left knob and rotate it until balance shows in the display. Use the right knob to change channel balance. If it was off to one side and when recentered both speakers play equally, you're all set. If the problem is still there, proceed to the next step. Turn the system off and swap the left and right plugs from the source going into the unit. If the problem is now in the other channel, the unit's okay. The problem is with the input cable or source component. Try swapping out the cable if you have another one on hand. If the problem has remained in the same channel, the issue is either with the unit or the output connectors. If you have an MA252, turn the system off and swap the left and right speaker connections at the back panel of the amplifier. If the problem is in the same speaker, the amp is okay. Check your speaker wires and the connections on the speaker. If the other speaker is now low or out, you may have a faulty tube. If you're using a C8 Preamp, turn the system off and swap the left and right preamp output plugs at the back of the preamp. Turn the system on and note which channel now has the problem. If the problem's in the same speaker, your preamp is okay. Check the connections to your power amplifier or on the back of your speaker. You can try another cable between your C8 and your power amplifier if you have one on hand. If the problem is now switched to the other speaker, the preamp may have a faulty tube. If you own an MHA200 headphone amp, note which headphone channel has the problem. Turn the headphone amp off and swap the left and right inputs to the headphone amp. If the problem is now in the other channel, the headphone amp is okay. Check your system's balance control and/or swap out the cable going into the MHA200. If the same channel has the problem, the most likely cause of the problem is a faulty tube. Like tires on a car, all tubes wear out eventually, and some may need replacement earlier due to use or other conditions. Tubes are a consumable item, but luckily, they're easy to replace. Let's find out if a tube is at fault. The C8, MA252, and MHA200 each have 4 tubes, 2 in each channel. First, note which channel is out, low, or noisy. Write that down. Turn the unit off and wait a few minutes for the tubes to cool. Remove the tube cages if you have a C8 or MA252. They pull straight up and off. You may need to pull fairly hard to remove them. Swap the left and right tubes that are further forward on the chassis. That's the 2 forward 12AX7 tubes in a C8 and the 2 12AT7 tubes in an MA252. Remove the tubes and pull straight up and out. Swap the 2 tubes. Push them straight down into the sockets until the bottom of the tube is flush with the top of the socket. If the tube resists you, wiggle it slightly to allow the pins to recenter into the socket contacts. Turn the unit back on. If the problem is now in the other channel, you need to order a new tube of the type you just swapped. If the problem is still in the same channel, the problem may be in one of the tubes that are further back on the chassis. Turn the unit off and now try swapping the rearmost tubes between the channels. In a C8, that's the 2 rearmost 12AX7 tubes. In an MA252, that's the 2 12AX7 tubes. If the problem is now in the other channel, you need to order a new 12AX7 tube. In the unlikely event that the problem is still in the same channel, consult your dealer for service of your unit since the tubes are not causing the issue. The procedure with the MHA200 is similar. First, swap the two 12BH7 tubes. If the problem swaps channels, you need a new 12BH7. If the problem is in the same channel after swapping the 12BH7 tubes, swap the two 12AT7 tubes. If the problem swaps channels, order a new 12AT7. In the unlikely event that the problem is still in the same channel after both tube swaps, consult your dealer for service of your MHA200. Tubes can be ordered through your dealer or directly from McIntosh's parts department. They can be reached at 607-723-3512 or via email at parts@macintoshlabs.com.